Hey guys, welcome back to Lyle once again. I've been doing a lot of DCC videos lately, so we're going to kind of continue that trend. And today we're going to talk about how to create realistic train handling or train physics using the ESU Loksound full throttle decoder line. Anyway, we really are only going to change a couple CVs. It's very simple, but these decoders have a really cool feature called drive hold, and using that as well as some momentum effect, we can actually create train handling, which in my opinion is the closest that I think the hobby's ever been to the way that the prototype operates. So anyway, let's jump in right here. We'll take a look at what we need to do and kind of talk about the pros and cons, or what we're going to gain using this feature and this decoder. So when you think about real trains, real locomotives, they're quite heavy, and therefore they have a lot of inertia, meaning that when you open up the throttle, it's going to take some time for that locomotive to get up to speed. Even when it's not hooked up to any cars, it takes a few seconds for those locomotives to work up speed and to load the torque from their diesel prime movers. Anyway, we have a short train hooked up here for demonstration. But the first thing we're going to look at is the decoder without anything programmed into it. So we're going to use one of the oldest features of DCC decoders, and that is momentum effects. But right now, we have no momentum programmed in. And if I open up the throttle here on our cab, I'll go up go like 30 speed steps. You'll see the locomotive jumps forward quite abruptly, and it also comes to a very sudden stop. So that's not super realistic at all, but we can change that. And the first thing that we're going to do is program in some momentum, which is to simulate the inertia of the weight of the train. So if we go to our cab here, I'll get this in focus, we're going to program CV3, that is the acceleration rate, and this can be a value anywhere from 0 to 255. Just for the sake of it, we're going to go with the maximum value, and that means that it's going to take quite some time for the train to get up to speed. And then CV4 is the deceleration rate, and I'm going to do the same thing for that there. So what we're going to see now is when I open up that throttle, and once again I will go to about 30 speed steps here. So the train starts to move, but it's going to take time to get up to that speed. So we're already at the throttle setting in terms of the sound coming out of the decoder that I put into the throttle there, but the train's not yet up to that speed. Coming to a stop, the story is going to be the same. It's going to take some time for that train then to bring its speed back down to 0. So what's cool about momentum is that we can have a train of any size really, and then program in a value of momentum that reflects what would be the weight or size of that train, so that it no longer looks like a model, right? The train gets up to speed at a slower rate and looks like that there's actually loads in those cars and that everything's heavier than it really is. So that's pretty cool. But the one downside is that even with momentum, there is no separation between the physical speed of the train and the theoretical speed of the prime mover. And what I mean by that is that with prototype locomotives, the RPM, or the throttle setting of the prime mover, is actually independent of the speed of the locomotive. So you could have a train that's in notch 8 going full throttle at 10 to 15 miles per hour up a mountain grade with a coal train. You could have that same train then on level ground at the same throttle setting going full throttle, and that train might be going 70, 75 miles per hour. So momentum cannot simulate that, because eventually, even though it takes longer for the locomotive to get up to speed, the speed of the locomotive will eventually match the speed of the sound coming out of the decoder. However, with these full throttle decoders, we can work around that, which is kind of the second half to the realistic operation. So full throttle decoders have a cool feature called drive hold, and I did a whole video on this, so you can check that out if you want. But it, from the factory, is function 9. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set function 9, and then I'm going to work up the throttle. So we're going to go to like speed step 50 or something like that. What you're going to hear is the prime mover then is working up in the locomotive. And what we're simulating right now is that the train behind it, even though there aren't that many cars, just pretend like it's a really heavy train and it's working up the tractive effort. And then I can release function 9, and the train's going to start to build up speed. But since we are upgrade here, we don't necessarily want this locomotive here to actually attain what would be 50 speed steps. So right about now, we might determine that that's as fast as this train would get to go. So I'm going to hit F9 again, and that's going to lock in the speed of the locomotive. So for right now at least, that's as fast as this train gets to go, even though the throttle sound, the exhaust sound, is about notch 5 or 6. So the throttle setting is much higher than the actual speed of the train. And that is very realistic, because now the speed of the train and the RPMs of the prime mover are actually independent. And now the train we have heading in reverse, it's actually going down grade, and I have the drive hold feature on, but I have the locomotive prime mover on idle. And what we're simulating now is the train is just coasting. So now if I release that, we're going to simulate applying the brakes. Now I'm going to turn the drive hold feature off. So to briefly sum up here, to use only momentum effects or only the drive hold feature would be cool and fun, but it's not entirely realistic, because the momentum is visually intriguing. It makes it look like the train is, you know, building up tractive effort and is really heavy, and it simulates the inertia to the eye. However, it does not separate the physical speed of the train from the speed or the sound of the prime mover coming out of the sound decoder. And on the other hand, drive hold alone is pretty cool, because it makes those two dimensions independent. However, it without any momentum doesn't look super realistic, because what you'll have is a locomotive that jumps forward to the speed that you have it set at and is kind of jerky. So you pair those two things together, and what you get is a very cool, very fun, realistic operating situation. So anyway, that is all I have for this video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, of course, let me know, and I'll respond to those as soon as possible. But otherwise, that is all I have. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I will have more videos soon. I'm getting some track orders in, hopefully very soon, and we'll get back to work on the layout. But probably before then, you can expect some more videos. I have some rail fanning videos on the way, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and stay tuned for more videos. I will see you guys next time.